This is your Fun Times Club news team.
Hello, I'm Ford Smith Gordon, and this is the Fun Times Club news team. We are in Vietnam bringing you the latest war coverage from the front lines. Our world is currently caught up in the Vietnam War, in which the Communist North, led by Ho Chi Minh, is in conflict with the anti-communist, partially democratic South. We've now got our Cold War specialist on the line to tell us what is happening in Vietnam.
As we all know, the world is divided into two warring halves, culminating in the vicious U.S.-Soviet rivalry. South Vietnam is being heavily supported by the United States. Meanwhile, the majority of the world's communist superpowers are becoming involved in the North. This has caused a client war on the part of the Americans, and a relentless effort to halt the domino theory.
So what exactly is the domino theory, and why is it concerned to America?
The domino theory is the American fear that if one country falls to communism, then more countries will join communism, one by one falling under the Soviet ideas and dominating nature of communism. This pattern can be observed as the falling of dominoes, one by one under communist control.
And to what extent has the United States made its presence felt in Vietnam?
In 1963, there were almost 15,000 Americans in South Vietnam to aid the fight against communism. That number at one point reached 543,000 as of 1969, as America continued to throw troops into Nam. More recently, America has begun to remove some of its ground troops as they now take to the skies, turning the conflict into one fought in the air. According to estimates based on bombing of the North to date, the total tonnage of bombs dropped is likely to exceed what was dropped during World War II by both sides combined.
We will now head to the home front, where we are learning of an upward trend in draft dodgers.
Here on the home front, we are having a serious problem with American citizens attempting to dodge conscription by crossing the border to Canada. It would appear that the ever-growing casualty total and our apparent inability to win the war may be leading to these individuals' decisions to jump ship. Not only that, but we are beginning to experience nationwide unrest as people begin to turn against the war effort because of its lack of success. This major change in the willingness to participate in the war, as opposed to during the two major world wars, can most likely be attributed to the recent boom in technology. People are now receiving immediate, uncensored feedback of what is truly going on in Vietnam. They now realize that war isn't all about heroic journeys, but instead gruesome, difficult battles in which people are used as pawns in the grand scheme of the war. Along with this information comes the suffering of the Vietnamese citizens brought up front here at home in America. The ability for the general public to receive information about the events in Vietnam is on a scale never seen before, particularly through television and the radio. The combination of these factors in the Vietnam War have led to great unrest, going as far as anti-war protests throughout the nation.
And what about our neighbors to the north? How do the Canadians feel about the war efforts in Vietnam?
Well, many Canadians were in favor of this war at first, mostly because it was a fight against communism. In fact, some Canadian businesses had a good partnership with the U.S. Defense Department, selling them everything from berets and boots to airplane engines and explosives. But the Canadians are definitely not in favor of the war anymore, because they are watching the same TV footage as our Americans back home. Canada's own Prime Minister Pearson was openly critical about the U.S. bombing campaign of North Vietnam. When President Johnson heard about this, he was furious that his Canadian ally was not supporting him in the war efforts.
Thanks, Phil Wang, for the story from the home front. We will now cut to Frederick Johnson MacDonald with the weather.
Hello, I'm Xander, and I'm filling in for Frederick Johnson MacDonald. I will give a brief overview of the climate and topography of Vietnam, how the land is shaped, and the ways that this will affect the fighting. Vietnam's weather varies from subtropical in the north to the tropics in the south. Vietnam has extreme humidity levels and averages 84% humidity throughout the year. When we divide Vietnam into the two warring sides, with Hue being splitting point, we find two different general weather trends. In the north, the temperature ranges from around 5 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius in the summer. In the mountainous regions, such as Sapa, the temperature sometimes drops below 0 degrees. Southern Vietnam has high temperatures all year round with an average yearly temperature of about 25 degrees Celsius. This is accompanied by two major seasons, a dry period from November to April and a wet period from May to October. These large changes in weather across a relatively small country cause many different impacts on both the soldiers and the weaponry used.
We interrupt this broadcast for a breaking news update from our special guest.
It's raining sideways.
This has been your Fun Times Club news team. Thanks for watching.
Turn down!